Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to one of the greatest chess games that have been ever played in chess history. Welcome to the Chinese Immortal between Bai Jinshi and Liren back from 2017. And this game that I'll show you today was probably even the best game that has been played by the new world champion Liren. And in this game he pulled off an Immortal, a beautiful, epic, really awesome queen sacrifice in an early stage of the game that led into a wild king hunt all over the board. So in my opinion, really a game that you have to know by heart, one of the best games in chess history. So let's see now the game. Bai Jinshi with the white pieces open with the move d4. Ding's response was knight to f6, c4 e6, knight to c3, and the game transposed now into the Nimzo-Indian Defense. So we have here three knights variation, kingside castling, and now bishop to g5. So Bai Jinshi is also now playing a dangerous pin against the knight on f6. We have now c5, aggressive method to break and enter in the center of the board. In some lines we're trying to get the queen on a5 and then maybe if possible to hop with the knight on e4 and then to continue the pressure against the knight on c3. In the game e3, c takes d4, and now you have, in my opinion, two good choices. You can play e takes d4 or queen to d4. In the game queen to d4 was played by Bai Jinshi, but if you play e takes d4, I think this move could be met with a simplified move now for black. Black can simplify the game by playing the move d5. d5 is in some lines after d takes c4, even creating an isolated d pawn for white, which could be a strategic disadvantage in the continuation of the game. So still playable line, of course, for both sides, but in my opinion, queen to d4 is a more aggressive approach here by Jinshi. He's trying now to keep basically the center unclarified with this move e takes d4. As we said, the d5 move leads into simplification, clarified pawn structure in the center of the board. So now with the move queen to d4, it's not going to happen that easily here for black. So in the game, knight to c6. The downside about this line is, of course, that black has an extra tempo, kicks away the queen, queen to d3, h6, bishop to h4, and now Ding hits the center again with this aggressive method with the move d5. And notice this move d5 meets actually with the idea, with the strategic concept that you should attack the center, that you should open the center if your opponent is staying with the king too long in the center. That's exactly what happened here. The king is stuck now on e1. You need at least one or two tempi in order to secure the king somehow. You really need too much time to secure the king. Now Ding uses this moment and breaks simply the center immediately. So in the game, rook to d1, Bai Jinshi is saying, okay, not so easy, dude. Here you have some problems on the d file. It's not so easy to push the d pawn like this. In the game g5, bishop to g3. Now Ding continues the pressure, as we said, against the knight on c3, hops now with the knight on e4. We have now knight to d2 by Bai Jinshi. He's trying now to defend by using more pieces into the defense, but now here Ding has this beautiful move, knight to c5. The queen steps back, and now d4. Again, Ding breaks now in the center of the board. So now Bai Jinshi plays knight to f3. He uses now the tensions on the d file, because that's why he played, of course, the move rook to d1. D takes c3 would be very risky, so that's why Ding played now the move e5, supported simply the pawn on d4. And there are again two things that you can do. You could maybe take out here the pawn with your bishop. This wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show you also what happens. I think this position has to be now solved in a more tactical way. After move bishop to e5, white will eventually lose the bishop on e5, knight to e5, queen to f6. Maybe black can lose even another pawn, but still I kind of don't like here the position for white, although white is up 2 pawns. But look at this, then we have this method, bishop to f5. The queen has to drop back. We can play rook to d8 and rook to e8. So as I said, although black is black lost 2 pawns so far, I would not really love to play anymore this game from white's perspective, especially because of the king in the center, because of the beautiful bishop's activity that black has here. So in my opinion, this would be a too much tactical game for white. So in the game, after move e5, that's why Bai Jinshi took with the knight to e5. But now Ding decided to play the Immortal tactic. He played now the epic d takes c3. Really wild stuff. He sacrificed now the queen, rook to d8. Now he says this intermediate check, c takes b2, and now here Bai Jinshi makes this main mistake in the game. He plays now the move king to e2, and this wasn't good. Actually, what Bai Jinshi should have played is this move, rook to d2, and now the game leads into something like this, rook to d8, and now you can maybe try bishop to d3. You can cover yourself, of course, with this kind of a method. You can try to somehow lock the d file, but actually this is still dangerous for white. After bishop to knight to e5, we have this line. This is very tricky, but unfortunately for Bai Jinshi, he didn't play this line. This was actually the way to go, because the problem of blacks is that you cannot get your king to h8 because you get checkmated immediately here with the move bishop to e5. You can just prolong the game by playing the move f6, but you have to play here king to f8, and now after bishop to e5 we can take out this one, queen to d1, bishop to d1, king to d1, bishop to e6, developing the piece, and now after something like h4, here maybe white is slightly better because of the bishop pair, and this pawn is lost anyway. Although black has a powerful, really a good knight here on c5. Also, we have to say the c4 pawn is weak, so in my opinion, playable position for both sides, but in my opinion, white should be maybe slightly better because of the bishop pair. But instead of this move rook to d2, Bai Jinshi played now the move king to e2, and from this point on, black takes over here. Ding is having now everything in his hands. He plays now a beautiful first rook to d8. We have now gained extra material. We have now the rook and the bishop and the pawn for the queen, which is, of course, I think a good compensation, especially when you think about this position that the king is still stuck in the center, so the bishop is blocked out by its own king. So in my opinion, not a good position anymore here for black. So in the game, queen to b2, knight to a4. Now Ding plays on the idea of the simple threat. Now you see Ding is in every move threatening at least something. He's forcing here Bai Jinshi always to react, not to act. So if maybe Ding allows here somehow to white to regroup, to get somehow the bishop into the game, to get somehow the rook into the game, then white should be better. So that's why here it's very important to keep white occupied, and that's exactly what Ding is doing with the move knight to a4, queen to c2. Again, you see he's just continuing the pressure after move king to f3. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. Maybe just for fun, try to see now the best continuation, because I think it's a position that many of us would love to play, because I think it's also fun to play this types of positions. So just for fun, try to solve now maybe here this mini puzzle, find the best move. Okay, actually there are two good moves. h5 is very dangerous with the preparation to play the move g4, but I think Ding played even the more attractive way. He played this brilliant idea, rook to d4 immediately, and in some lines the threat is of course knight to e5, and then maybe to play even bishop to g4 would be a checkmate. If you play of course e takes d4, then of course knight to d4 becomes the royal fork, and you lose the queen on c2. Look how Ding activated the rook in a most beautiful way. After move rook to d4, h3, Bai Jinshi is preventing at least this idea. The move g4, Ding prepares it further with the move h5. Now there is again the threat knight to e5, or immediately here the move g4. So you see with every move Ding is threatening something. That's the beauty about this game. Still you see the bishop on f1 and the rook on h1 are on starting square, so they haven't participated in the game at all. That's the beauty about, as I said, this simple threat idea that black pulled off through the whole game. Never allowed here white to breathe. So in the game after h5, bishop to h2, we have now this move g4, king to g3, rook to d2, again with the same tactical shot. So you see how Ding is gaining more and more activities with this rook by just always threatening the fork. Now the queen drops back to b3, but the problem is now the queen is again too far away from the action. The queen is now even on a war square. The queen at least attacked somehow something here on this diagonal. Now when the queen is on b3, it's also blocked out by its own pawn, so now the queen is out of the game. Then continues the pressure with a beautiful knight to e4. We have now the move king to h4. If you play king to f4 here, this is not working because after rook to f2 you can maybe even take out here the knight, but now look at this, you get checkmated. This rook is coming into the game. You can just prolong the game by sacrificing some pieces, but when the king is now on e5, pardon me, on d5 here, then it's simply a beautiful checkmate pattern here in the center of the board. So see, with every move, white needs to be careful because the game could be over soon. So that's why Bai Jinshi played king to h4. Now we have another beautiful check, bishop to e7. The king has now to take out the pawn on h5, and now a brilliant move again here by Ding, king to g7. It's seemingly a calm move, but this is the way to go because Ding is preparing now methods like bishop to e6 and then to get the rook here on the h file, and in some lines again deliver checkmate with a beautiful rook move. So in the game, bishop to f4. Bai Jinshi is desperately now trying to get some more defenders into the game. We have now bishop to f5. Here we have bishop to h6 because, as we said, if you don't react correctly, rook to h8 is going to happen. So it's not working. So that's why bishop to h6. We have king to h7, and now the problem about this position is that you cannot take with the pawn or with the knight here the pawn on g4. This is not working because you take actually here the square for the king, because in the next move bishop to g6 is the threat. For instance, if you try here knight to g4, look at this, bishop to g6 is immediately a threat. If you play here h takes g4, then bishop to g6 leads again into complications, because after knight to g6, f takes g6, you get actually checkmated with the pawn. That's the issue. So that's why you have to keep your chances somehow by not taking the pawn on g4. If, for instance, bishop to g6 happens now, then of course you can maybe get your king to g4 and maybe in some lines even escape this immortal king hunt. But as I said, this is not working. Knight to g4 or h takes g4 are not possible lines here for white. So in the game, that's why here we have queen to b7 by Jinshi. We have rook to f2. Again, a brilliant move here by Ding, because if you take, of course, here the rook, then with knight to g3, you get a beautiful checkmate. Look at this, all of the squares are taken. There's nothing that can be done. So after move rook to f2, bishop to g5 was played by Jinshi. Now again this beautiful calm move, rook to h8, and now we're threatening just to get the king out of the h file and deliver, of course, checkmate. So in the game, knight to f7, Bai Jinshi is attacking now the rook, but now again Ding played a beautiful check. The king drops back, and now pause the video and try again to see the winning idea here for black. After that move, Bai Jinshi immediately resigned. Ding played the correct choice. Basically, it's a 4 checkmate sequence. It's a checkmate in 4. Okay, Ding played the beautiful knight to e5, and in this position Bai Jinshi resigned, because if you play knight to e5, notice that the knight is not attacking anymore the rook on h8. So now there's nothing that can be done. We can play bishop to f5 again. The king has to step back. Now we play this idea, king to g7. We have now this beautiful check by the rook. You can just prolong the game, but after rook to h6, it would be a beautiful checkmate. So this was the last move, knight to e5. Really, again, an immortal deflection here by Ding, and as I said, in this position Bai Jinshi resigned. So cool game for sure. Immortal king hunt this was. You see how dangerous it is to play the game sometimes. Here I think Stockfish would not play the game better than Ding here. He played on a wild idea, got rewarded for his active play. You see sometimes how it can be bad when you stay with your king too long in the center. Your opponent will eventually open the center, activate the pieces, and that was, I think, a beautiful example. The king was locked in the center. Ding played on the king hunt, found the best solutions, found the best move. Here I think he played on the beautiful principles of the most activity, finding the most active squares of the pieces. Brilliant and epic game played by the new world champion, Liren. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Nimzo-Indian for sure, and cool tactical shots we have seen for sure here in this beautiful game. If you want to see more epic games like this, check out our best chess games of all time series, and also you can check out the chess games that I've analyzed so far by Liren. Here are the links for both of our playlists, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.